Session 26. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We begin with the name of God, who is most gracious and merciful. Nahmaduhu nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. And we begin with blessings on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the last and final prophet. We continue with Surah Baqarah, verse 221. Ulaika yad'una lana nar wallahu yad'u ilal jannah. They, that is the disbelievers, call you to hell, and Allah calls you to heaven and to forgiveness. The disbelievers call the entire mankind, humanity, to hell in three ways. First, in the way of their social system based on liberty, that man and woman have the right to do whatever they like with their own bodies. This was covered in 3 sessions in the beginning. The second way of the disbelievers of calling the humanity to hell is by way of their political, that is democratic system, which is based on secularism, and taking man majority as the God, which has the right to make, break, change all laws, rules, regulations of human conduct and human life, as and when it suits the masses, the policies as per the system of democracy. This was covered in our session on understanding democracy. Today, it is the third, the economic field of human activity, the Western civilization's economic system, which is prevalent in the entire world today, which I'll try to cover in 2 sessions, inshallah, God be willing. Quranic injunctions prohibiting riba, interest, endorse the Prophet's mission to eradicate zulm, injustice, exploitation, evil among the mankind. It's a verity, an established truth, that the psyche of the people of a society creates norms of conduct and values which then become the basis of lawmaking and various policies, including international relations. Dropping, crumbling of the Twin Towers every 60 seconds for a year and a half at a stretch on the TV worked insidiously on the psyche of tolerant and broad-minded Americans who acceded to a war against 20% of the mankind in vengeance of a dozen eccentrics at best, or perhaps some agency, Mossad, as some Americans know it today. It is this psyche that has sustained the imaginations of terror-mongers and the entire leadership turned terrorologists. The imaginations of the terror-mongers, that is the terrorologists, capitalized on this psyche of the ill-disposed masses to keep public opinion, morality on their side. Muhammad, peace be upon him, worked on the attitude of the Muslims and forbade selfishness, egocentricism, self-aggrandizement, lust for money, luxuries, comforts, jealousy, and inculcated selflessness, sympathy, love, concern for the welfare of others. Empathy and fear of Allah to be forerunners, and fountains, bases of social and economic systems geared to eliminate poverty, exploitation, injustice, and inequality. While modesty and chastity glittered the social environment, the economic system was based on compulsory and voluntary charity and circulation of capital. And it is a very important term in economics, circulation of capital. The rational human being was defined, the rational human being was defined as the person who fears Allah and works to please Him, who loves Allah and his mankind more than he loves money and property. Riba, interest, being a manifestation of selfishness, self-aggrandizement, lust for money, and an instrument of exploitation, injustice, and spreading poverty to be dealt with such ruthlessness, with poverty, and to be dealt with such ruthlessness hardly seen against any other failings, zulm, evil, sin, less adultery, fornication. Zakah, giving compulsory alms to the poor, rights of the poor, was equated with compulsory salah, as the first rightly guided Caliph of Islam, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, waged jihad, massed his forces against Muslims who tried to evade zakah. And this force consisted of all the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, for the reason that it was not the loss of a few hundred or 1,000 riyals, but the very concept, the mission of Islam, of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of eliminating injustice, zulm, exploitation was at stake. Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Everything has been created by Allah. All belongs to Him, including the man himself." The Prophet stated that everything has been created by Allah. All belongs to Him, including the man himself. We are life renters of all that has been given to us. So it has to be spent in the way of Allah and His Prophet as they have ordered. Whatever anyone has is a blessing of Allah. Delusions of grandeur, a false belief in one's own importance are detested by Allah, and misusing, misdirecting money to exploit, capitalize on the needs of other peoples is forbidden. Years back, as students of economics, we were taught in the very first chapter, and I quote, that economics is based on the assumption that all human beings are rational, and rational being is defined as a person who works and guards his own interest. I repeat, economics is based on the assumption that all human beings are rational, and rational being is defined as a person who works for and guards his own interest. As such, when self-interest, self-aggrandizement, lust for money, selfishness is the selfishness is the general psyche of an economic system, of all economic activities, the future of mankind is obviously foreordained. Manipulated, regulated rate of interest, hoarding, monopoly, speculation, windfall profits, artificial shortages, exploitation-oriented regulated production, exploitation-oriented regulated production, cartels, all activities to keep the profits at the optimum level with disregard to the pressures on the majority, the normal people, become harbingers of misery for the mankind, but accepted as activities of rational, normal beings as rules of the game, not contrary to human rights. So no one demurs, no one objects. Interestingly, the more scourging, cruciating the instrument, the more singular and pivotal and vital role it has in the Western economic system, namely interest. And people have the temerity to say that Quranic injunctions forbidding interest are outmoded. They say no economic system can run without interest and without banking. For the West, decrying against Quranic injunctions on interest is partly justified, for obviously the entire edifice of the economic and banking system would crumble if interest was removed in all economic activities. The Western economic system is gridlocked on the psyche and values of rational human beings as defined by them. It can't sustain the activities of irrational, according to them, beings who fear Allah, almost utopian for the secular, in which the sovereign Muslims who lend money without interest, so the entire banking system, no hoarding, so it collapses. So the entire banking system collapses. No hoarding, no cartels, no speculation, and only reasonable profits. Contrariwise, they pay zakat to the poor, bail out all those in monetary troubles, look around for the destitute, sick, and assist the poor. We also deduce that if interest was injected in the Islamic economic system, not only will the economic system collapse, it will deface, ruin the entire Islamic society by changing the very psyche of the people. And this is how the Western economic system is actually devoid of the values given by Muhammad. And this is how the Western economic system is actually devoid of the values given by Muhammad, peace be upon him. All the fluctuations, inflation, deflation in our economic system, all crises are taken as a natural, inevitable phenomena in the world with which mankind will have to live and fight economic battles. It is rather a blinkered approach, for the economists know it well that interest is the basic cause of almost all economic plagues. Not only is it a manifestation of man's hankering, strong desire for wealth, it is a harbinger of the misery, difficulties, problems for all the consumers, that is the people of the world. In all the loaning with interest, the original amount remains the inalienable ownership of the lender. All the borrowers are actually workers, labor, tools which operate, work, invest their time and talents and their energies to earn for themselves and to return the money back to the owner, plus a portion of their fruits of their efforts to the donor. So the borrowers lose the ownership of a portion of their own hard-earned income in having to pay compulsorily to the donor in return for his kindness of lending on interest. Jazakallah.